Looking into the operations of College, Illinois, I think it sends a loud signal to the governor and also to particularly the governor's office that there needs to be wholesale changes on the board and also the management of College, Illinois. I just found out recently that there's a securities investigation that the Secretary of State is now looking into. The Attorney General is looking into consumer fraud issues. I'm looking into all of those issues, but also trying to find a way to ensure that parents are going to be ensured that those contracts will be made good by the state of Illinois in 15, 18 years or whenever they come due. So I think that this can be turned around, but you know what? It's going to be a personnel problem, personnel issue that needs to be addressed first. So I'm each day that goes on and I read another story, I'm losing more confidence in the operations of College, Illinois. I've looked at things myself regarding investment policies and also actions by the board, which to me do not make sense. I'm not a person who has an investment background, but I can read, and I also know that sometimes when investments are considered risky and such as hedge funds, that there should be great caution used by the board to approve those types of investments. This is not what parents signed up for. They signed up for, it was promoted as a guarantee by the state, and that the fund would not be subject to market fluctuations. Now we found out that both of those are not true. So our job moving forward is going to be to fix the problems, ensure the parents that they should have confidence that this will work. It's going to take a lot of we're going to have to spend some time on this. I'm going to have a hearing, I would say sometime within the next 3 to 4 weeks, which is going to be a very comprehensive hearing that's going to look into the role of the third-party consultant, the investment policy of the College, Illinois program, and also the responsibilities of the board and also the management of College, Illinois. And I'm also going to have a lot of parents who will be able to provide their thoughts as well. I think it's important that they are part of this process, since the state of Illinois is the one who has induced people to invest into these programs, and these programs are 100% of it's funded by those parents. These contracts are not, it's not like a state pension where, the state's going to pick up maybe 15, 20%. This is 100%, 100% of the proceeds are funded out of the pockets of hardworking people in the state of Illinois. So I believe that there will be some movement on the board fairly soon, and I think it's important that we have not only individuals who have a background and understand the investment world, but also have some knowledge of higher education. But also, I think it's important that we have stakeholders who serve on the board as well. So I'll wait for the governor to make those types of decisions, but I think the board no longer, I have no confidence in the board. And if we do have, and I'm losing confidence in the management of ISAC and the College, Illinois program. I don't think that the Attorney General and the Secretary of State are creating false issues. Where there's smoke, there's fire. But then more and more that this is on the headlines and we see more problems with the College, Illinois fund, the more people leave the fund. And to me, that would be the biggest tragedy if we had a run on the College, Illinois fund. I want to make sure that we can, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off.
Does that turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy, though? When people, it just kind of expounds on itself, people see they have friends pulling money out, so they pull their money out.
It does, and that to me is the greatest concern about this program. I was here in the late 90s when this started. It was built on very good principles and sound tenets, and it's been very successful in a number of other states. Some states it hasn't been so successful, but a number of states have done quite well. And they're even in the worst of markets, which we've experienced, we have different states have funding over 90% and some over 100%. So what did we do wrong? So that's what we need to do, is clearly identify the problem, make the changes, and work extremely hard to convince and make sure that these contracts will be honored, but also we need to have other individuals sign up for the program. And that's also going to require some work with the universities. Mm-hmm. I have a hard time believing that that cost of tuition has gone up at the rate that it has. When there has been no increase in the student population, you could probably find out that the management areas of the universities has grown exponentially, much larger than the student population. But we have tuition going up so high. Can't blame the legislature for everything. Universities are going to have to be part of this process as well, and that is one of my goals.
Is that a matter of the kind of the state shooting its own foot, where you have a state institution, universities, raising tuition, causing this ISAC fund, among other things, to kind of not predict that and therefore not have as much money as they need for
Sure, that's part of it. That is part of it, but it's not all of it. I initially became involved with College Lawyer when I found out the striking amount of investments that were placed in high-risk, portfolios, and that's not exactly the way that these funds should be operated. So.
Does that worry you that some of these funds that are higher risk are also less liquid? So if they start to go south, like real estate, I think that's like 15% of their portfolio now. If that starts to go south, they can't quickly turn that around.
Yes, and this is, I don't know many of these different money managers and different funds, but some are long-term contracts. There's some that are liquid, some that are not liquid. But yeah, it's I hate to say it sounds really simplistic, but it's all over the board, the types of investments they have. And until we have someone who has the type of knowledge, and there's a couple of my colleagues come from that area, they're looking into it. We found out exactly what the investments are, how long these contracts are, the investment contracts are for, and what's whether or not we can turn these around if that's if we were in a situation where we needed quick cash to be able to make sure we're paying out in these contracts.
So you said where there's smoke, there's fire. Is there still time to put out the fire?
That is
At what point is this too far gone?
I don't believe it's too far gone, but I think that we are going to reach a point where some very tough decisions are going to have to be made, personnel decisions, but also policies of the board. Mm-hmm. And I can guarantee you this, that when I return to session next year, I will have recommendations for legislative change. But it's not going to be, as I said earlier, it's going to be changes on investment policy, also strengthening the reasonable, prudent investor, issues within the ISAC, but also there's going to have to be some recognition of the universities and what they've done with tuition, and having them work with ISAC and also the legislature to find a creative way in which we're going to make sure that these contracts are not going to, are going to be honored. One, two, is that universities have to do something about lowering the price of tuition. That's a whole different, issue, which is probably as large as what we're looking at, but it's part of the solution as well. Who's going to sign up for the University of Illinois for a $100,000 contract right now? This is not a program. It is marketed towards the high class, the extremely wealthy individuals and the trust fund kids. This is a middle class investment program that is meant to provide for, ensure that there's going to be a college education for parents, kids, and their grandchildren.
If College Illinois can't honor some of these, if they, for whatever reason, run out of money, is that a breach of contract at that point?
Well, there's a lot of. It depends on if you look at the fine print in the contract. But I will say this: there's a theory called promissory estoppel, in which if you use it, which bars a party from using the small print in a contract based on the marketing or the promises and inducements that have been made. So I think that this could be ripe at some point. I hope it's not, and I don't think we'll ever get there. But I don't think that that the state can rely upon the contract if there is a problem down the line, saying that this is not backed by the full faith and credit, and since it was marketed otherwise. So that to me is a tragic flaw with the program, the way it was presented to and marketed to people in the state of Illinois.